I'm Peter Fernandez from BSTN. We are here today with the second Superintendent's Corner podcast. With me today is, of course, Mr. Saxton. So thanks for being here. It's the week before Christmas break. We're celebrating a lot of school spirit this week. That's why I'm wearing a fancy American scarf this morning. But so talking about Christmas break coming up, in Ohio, there's snow coming up, especially tomorrow, Tuesday. It looks like there's going to be a lot of snow. But how do you feel about our winter advisory plans or our winter emergencies? How do you feel about the winter this year?
Well, first of all, you just fell right into the trap. You said tomorrow's supposed to be a lot of snow. Yeah, be careful. The media likes to create a buzz about our weather conditions to drive people to their stations. I get it. That's their business. And what we've seen over the years is maybe they give a false sense of how big a storm could or could not be. Yeah. Like tomorrow, probably the fear tomorrow is ice. Ice is probably the biggest villain for transportation issues. But the number one thing about weather delays or cancellations is always, is it safe to put buses out there? Is it safe to have people on the roads? That's the number one deciding factor. I wish I had a nice magic crystal ball or a snow globe I could rub to figure out what's going to happen, but weather's unpredictable, and I wish we could call it the night before, but sometimes you just can't. It's nice when you can. So we're taking a look at weather patterns. We're taking a look at there's different websites you can go on. I'm talking to our transportation director. He works with his crew and they talk to the road department, and this year we're also adding to that layer. I have the direct line to the road supervisor with the police department, because there's always Boardman police out and about, and I can patch right in them so they can give me a real-time report on how the roads look. So combine all those and figure out whether or not it's safe to have school open, or maybe to delay opening so it'll be safe later in the day. But we try to make the call early if we can. We can't make that call any later than 6:15, because that's usually when buses start picking kids up. And we don't really want them to pick kids up and then turn around and drop them off. That doesn't work.
So, you gave a lot of reasons, or a lot of there's a lot of communication behind it. But is there one deciding factor or one final say that would close the schools or have a 2-hour delay for the day, or what's the deciding factor for a cancellation or delay?
It's really a combination. I'd say I put a lot of faith in our transportation supervisor. He's a former bus driver, and he knows whether or not it's safe to put a bus out on the road. That's probably the number one thing. If it's not safe to put a bus out there, he's usually out in the morning driving around parts of Boardman. I'm out there in the morning driving around parts of Boardman just to check the roads. But really, I'm going to consult with him, and we're going to make a decision as a team. Is it safe to put buses on that road?
So we're talking about the school system, and there's a lot of communication behind it, but there's this new program that's been put into place, the Ed Choice program. What is it? What is the Ed Choice program?
Well, what's new is some of the tweaks they've put in. Actually, Ed Choice is actually pretty old. It started in the 90s in Cleveland, Ohio. It was one of the first in the nation. For students to use a voucher to not attend the Cleveland public schools and to take their voucher and maybe attend a private or parochial school. Since then, layers have been added. The one that's causing the most storm is the layer they added back in late summer in the governor's 2-year budget. They added a couple factors to it, and they expanded. They actually tripled the number of buildings in the state of Ohio that are eligible for next school year. There was about 400 buildings eligible previously under some expanded language, and by adding a few factors in, that number went to over 1,200. So there is a strong buzz across the state of Ohio. People waking up to the shock of what has happened, especially the financial impact.
Well, because I know we just passed that levy, to keep the school running, to keep programs inside. I mean, I know this building, band and all these other programs running. What is this Ed Choice and now spending money for kids to go to these parochial schools? What does that look like for programs like band or arts or just programs at Boardman in general?
Good question. That's You go back to May of 2018 when we stood in front of the taxpayers of Boardman and said this is a 10-year plan, and we've been working hard to keep our promise. And that was one of the reasons why we took a look at closing Market Street, which has helped us. Market Street projected cost savings is going to be almost $900,000, which really helped towards that 10-year plan. Now here comes Ed Choice. And which Ed Choice says if you have what they call an underperforming building, not a district, underperforming building, then a student can take take a voucher, which is valued at $6,000 for the grades 9 through 12 and $4,650 for grades K through 8. And they can take that voucher out of our revenues, out of our tax dollars, and attend a parochial/private school, whatever one is the Ed Choice provider. Now, the other language they just added, in the past you had to at least attend the public school. Then if it became underperforming eligible, you could take that money with you. The piece they added was at the high school level, if you're already at an Ed Choice provider, then you also can receive, which is a second layer. So parents and families who already made a decision to go the private or parochial route are also eligible. So that's the part that actually adds additional financial pain to us. So if you take a look at the number of parochial kids already attending, that could cost the Boardman schools a minimum of $300,000 to $400,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it's eating up at least half of that savings, and then we have to predict whether students would take that voucher. Mm-hmm. Go back to your question about how does it impact, especially our arts program. We've always worked hard to protect that arts program, because that's a staple. That's one of the founding three legs of the academic, the arts, and the athletics of Boardman. So we will continue to make sure they are properly funded. I don't believe students are going to leave Boardman to find a place that can compete in arts. So I don't think we're going to lose people for orchestra or band elsewhere. But we might lose some people who want to choose that parochial or private way of education. That's what we have to figure out and predict.
Mm-hmm. So my question would be, Boardman's a good school system. I mean, we're not in academic failure. We have all these great things going for Boardman schooling system. Why do we qualify for Ed Choice?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to disagree with you. We're not a good school system. We're a great school system. So we absolutely should never qualify for Ed Choice. What has triggered it is one little metric through the Ohio report card called value added. That could be a podcast in itself. Yeah. It's not. We don't have an F on our report card. If you look at our report card, there's no Fs on it. So let me use a quick example. So let's say you take government class. Let's say your overall grade is a C. You probably got an A, but we'll make believe it. Let's say you got a C. It's like getting an F on maybe the final exam, which is a portion of the final grade. So they dug deep into the value-added metric system and said that's the one grade we want to target. Yeah, we have some schools that have that, but their overall grade is not failing, and we don't have a single building in Boardman that has a grade below a C. We have A, B's, and C buildings. That means we're all high-performing buildings, and that's the frustration, and that's the anger. We don't have a single building that's classified as underperforming, but they targeted one particular piece of data, and that's what's causing these pain points across the state. There are schools that have A's. I mean, we're all striving for that. There are 31 districts in the state of Ohio that got A's on the report card. Congratulations to them. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
7 of them have a building that are classified as Ed Choice, meaning they're underperforming. That doesn't make any sense how you can have an A and be underperforming. So it's very confusing, very frustrating, and I have hope and strong belief that the legislators out of Columbus are going to get this fixed.
So like we have a great school system, and even school systems that are ranked A's are still getting attacked by this Ed Choice program. So what would be the next steps?
Well, the next steps is, first of all, we have a system in place, a system of state government. So our representatives are in the House and the Senate. We need to speak to them, and we've begun that discussion. We had a nice meeting with Michael Ruley, who represents this area. Districts across the state. There's as I said earlier, there's 1,200 buildings being impacted. 70% of the school districts are now impacted. They're reaching out to their local representatives, and they've already begun the discussions down in Columbus. But they got to move quickly, because February 1 begins the Ed Choice voucher initiation process for next school year. So they got to make some changes, some tweaks, and that process has begun. We need some official votes. So for anyone who's feeling this frustration and agrees with us, they need to reach out to their local politicians, let them know that they don't believe in this and it needs to change.
Well, because I have a friend that he just graduated from a private school, and his parents are frustrated because they don't believe it's fair, because they had to pay for him to go for 4 years, and now there's kids going to schools that are just going to have a free ride to go to these schools, and they're frustrated because their tax money is going to go, they're paying tax money that's going to pay for other kids to go to these schools. And I mean, especially because they already had a kid go through the school,
Right.
it's a frustration for them. So what would you say for people in the community like that?
Look, I'd say I agree with you completely. That family made a choice. They weighed the pros and cons of taking some of their family dollars, and they decided for whatever reason, and a personal family reason, that they want their child to go through a parochial way of education, which is fine. I don't disagree with that. But we have a system in place in which, when we stand in front of the public, when we put a levy up there, that's for public dollars. So now that divide has been broken, in which those public dollars are going to parochial. So a family like that same thing. They need to speak out and speak to the local representatives. Again, this is wrong. It's been pushed through and it needs corrected.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking more on the positive side of things, there's a tax abatement over at the mall, or they're pushing for one at the mall, and for the new DeBartolo Commons area. So what does that look like for Boardman schools?
Great question. The big piece for us is the CRA tax abatement. So really, in the big picture, it does look good for the Boardman schools, meaning what the mall developers, the Washington Prime Group, are saying is that we're going to sink $30 million into the mall project, which for some people, $30 million is kind of an abstract number. But when you take a look at that amount of money to be invested into a sector of our size, we're not Cleveland or Columbus, but that's the amount of money they would invest in a mall in the big market. So this is a real positive for the Valley. For all the people that say, why don't we ever get anything? I drive to Easton, or I go down to Polaris, and they go outside there and they see all the development. But why isn't anything ever being done here? Well, it's being done.
Yeah. So
for the schools, the good thing about this, it's only on future property value of the mall there. So the only thing we would lose out on 15 years is on the potential new tax dollars. But really, if you take a look what's happened, they've torn Sears down, so that property value has now decreased.
Yeah.
If we don't do anything, that's how it would hurt us. By allowing them to move forward, that property value will only go up. So we're not going to lose any money. In fact, we should see some positive, because all the surrounding properties will increase in value, which will help everybody in Boardman.
Yeah, like Center across the street, the property
Absolutely.
value.
Yeah.
So after they finish building DeBartolo Commons, it's projected to be finished in, I think, fall 2020.
Yep.
Would the property value for Center go up, and what would maybe the future plans for Center look like then?
Yeah, absolutely. All those surrounding property, all those surrounding businesses, that's an anchor. It'll just raise everything up. So yes, that should help the property values, and it'll help all property values in the surrounding area, if not all of Boardman. Which, again, going back to how tax levies work, they cannot generate more dollars than they were passed for. So as property values go up, that means people have less share of the pot that raises that. So actually, their personal tax should go on the property should go down. Should, but there's a lot of factors in place. That's an oversimplification. But for Center, again, we're always taking a look at that. We have to look long term, beyond 10 years. Center has parts of the building over 100 years old, so we have to have a long term plan to replace Center. But we've heard loud and clear from our taxpayers, not with additional taxes. So again, we're trying to be creative and try to think outside the box at how we can place our 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, who currently are at Center, in a new building without raising taxes. It's quite a challenge.
Well, I covered all my points. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or for anyone out watching this, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, this is a special week, the week before the holidays here. So, you excited for this week? I mean, what's do you plan? I see you got the holiday scarf on. I wear a scarf every day, but they call it a tie. But you got a scarf on. So, what about you? Any big plans for the break coming up? Or
I'm really excited because this year the band is going to Disney during the break.
That's fantastic.
So I'm really excited for that. And, well, of course, seeing family, having family around is always great. So I enjoyed that. And honestly, just having that time to be around family and do cool things like going to Disney is really exciting. I'm really excited for that. So, yeah. Do you have anything planned for this Christmas break?
I'd kind of like to go to Disney to see the band march right down Main Street there. I was just thinking, what a wonderful opportunity. There's, of the 100 kids or so in the band, think about some of them probably would never have the opportunity to go to Disney, but because they're part of our arts and our music program, they have an opportunity not just to become a better musician, but a chance to experience one of the premier places in the United States and to do it part of the Boardman School. So, and the question you asked me, what are plans? It's all about family. I have 3 daughters that have gone away to college. They're back now. Plan on spending some quality time with my daughters, with my own parents, and just relaxing, enjoying some family time.
Oh, yeah, that's really, really cool. So thank you guys for joining us today for another installment of Superintendent's Corner. I'm Peter Fernandez from BSTN, and have a wonderful holiday.
Happy holidays.